So I've had a couple days to play with the new Mavic Mini. This little fella right here, Mavic Mini. Had a couple days. Taken it out for 2 flights, and the real question is, what do we think of it? Today, what we're gonna do is kind of a 2-part, sort of 2 and a bit part. Number 1 is we're gonna go look at the app to see how it is, how it functions, things you can do in it, etc., etc. Just so you guys get an overview, because that's kind of important. Second is we're going to talk about a little bit of a review, just what we think of the Mavic. How does it fly? How does this Mini handle? Because we had some opportunity to take it out in a little bit of snow, and actually we got high wind warnings. So how did it handle the high wind warnings? These are all kind of good things to think about when we're looking at a drone of this size. And lastly, image quality. So we shot on day 1 in 1080 and then day 2 2.7. Now, so you guys are aware, this whole video timeline, whatever, is done in 4K. So both of those are getting up-res, so that if you are looking at this on a 4K display, you can get an idea of the quality that you're gonna get. All right, let's start right now. Okay guys, so I have the Mini here, and I have my phone, and I have my iPad, which is going to record, and we're going to talk about the app first, just to kind of give you a little overview of the app. Now, one of the things that I'm still not 100% sure I understand is why we need 900 different DJI apps. I don't get it. Why do we have a DJI Go, a DJI 3, a 4, now a Fly, now so many apps? I just don't know. So what we're gonna do is just turn this on. We're not flying it, we're just turning it on so we can see what the app looks like, because that's kind of important. So we're gonna put this here on the table. Here's my phone right here. I'm hoping you guys can see that all right. It is on the screen. I can't get the iPad really back much further without not seeing the display, so there we are right there. My apologies if it's too big. Anyway, let's turn all this stuff on, shall we? What we'll do is we'll turn the drone on. Okay, that's firing up. We will turn the controller on. That's firing up. And last but not least, we'll turn the app on. Yeah, right off the bat, hopefully you guys can see this. See all this DJI stuff I got going on here? That's why is there so much? Why is there so much? I don't know. So let's bring this down so we can see it. There we go. I think that's better. Okay, so here it is. We can see what we're gonna turn that a little bit. You guys get to look at my computer, or maybe you wanna look at my cup of coffee. That's cool too. There you go. Maybe. Let's look at the application itself. So connecting was super simple to it. Again, I always do it in this order. So drone up first, controller up second, app up third. So let's take an overview. So first off, some of the important ones. This is one of the big ones. Up top here, you'll see it, take off with caution, no GPS. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time. I usually just wait, because if you don't get that, you don't get a return to home. So you kind of want that. There's a mode P up here in the corner. So right there, mode P. And there's P, C, and S. So you'll see if I tap that, now it's mode S. Sport mode, high speed. And it actually has a pretty good speed to it. I was surprised at how fast this thing flew in sport mode. P mode is just your standard mode. This is the one I usually use most. C, so cinema smooth, slow speed, which means all of your movements are gonna be kind of delayed and almost have a graduating curve on them. If you're flying to the right, for instance, and you stop, instead of it going woof, it'll be like, okay, let's just slow down and hover. And that's great to get those cinematic shots. What's not great is if you're learning, for instance, to fly, and because this has no obstacle avoidance, that you end up flying into something because you realize at the last minute that, uh-oh, we're in trouble, right? And now that's an issue. So that can be a bit of a concern. I'm gonna turn you so you have maybe something better to look at. Back of a controller? I don't know, none of it looks good. Whatever. Mode C, what I almost always fly in. Now, one of the things I do wish is that you could set that as a default so that when it starts, you can just like, I always want it in mode C. There is a little back arrow up here. Hopefully you guys can see that right there. And that one is going to take you back out of the camera view, out of the drone view, and back into the main menu. So if this app especially had multiple devices that it would hook up with, you could play around in there. This one here is your takeoff. So if you tap on it, you'll see you hold this. So you hold this button down. So if I hold it, I'm not going to do it, you'll see that ring fill up. And as it fills up, when it hits the top, she'll pulse her blades and lift. So it says 1.2 meters. So be aware, that's how high she's flying. Now this button also here becomes your return and land button once the drone is in the air. So once it's actually up in the air, this button will change, and if you tap on it, you'll get a land or return home and land. So you get two options once you tap that when the drone is flying, so kind of be aware of that. Other thing down here in the very bottom left-hand corner, you will have like your speed, your distance, your height, all that kind of information. And if you tap this little emblem here, you will get a little picture of the map. And if you then tap this, what happens is, see if I can get it. There it goes. You'll see the images reverse. So now you have map big, if that's important, and your camera, which is little. So depending on what you're doing, if you are trying to get it out somewhere and the map is really important so that you understand where you are, you may want to flip those, and then when you're done, just kind of tap these and they'll reverse again. So, and then you can, just kind of tap between them, punch that back down, you're good to go. The other one that's kind of cool is right here. And this is kind of a little directional piece to let you know where the drone is. And this is really important when you're flying, because you want to make sure that your antennas are kind of pointing the drone. So if it realizes that your drone is over here, you may want to turn so that you get good reception and signal back and forth from the drone. That can be actually really important, right? Yeah. Down here, you'll see two that kind of correspond with each other. You'll see an exposure value, and you'll see an automatic exposure. By default, it's in automatic, so she'll raise and lower exposure depending on the amount of sun, or light, whatever. But you can come in here and tap that, which will lock that exposure, which means whatever it is now, it won't change. Be aware that if you come in here and tap this, which is your exposure compensation, which you can move up and down, the moment you do that, your auto exposure goes back unlocked and it'll start fluctuating again. So if you are doing this one and you want it like down a little bit, which is a lot of times what I want, I usually shoot at like minus 0.3 or 0.7. Then as soon as I do that, I want to come back over here and tap on that, lock the exposure again, so that it won't start fluctuating. Because it will fluctuate, even though all the fluctuations will be minus 0.3, for instance. Again, no way to set that as a default, which would have been nice. Down here, we have an auto button, enable to switch camera modes and current shooting. Sure, you have some things that you play with. This here is a play button. We can play the media that is on the drone, and this could be good for two reasons. Nice little recap of what we've done, and being able to copy footage from the drone to the phone. Here, of course, is going to be your start, stop, record, take picture, etc., depending on the mode. So this will be, right now you'll see video mode. If I tap on that, camera mode, video mode, camera mode. Up at the very top, you will see how many satellites that you have. Right now I don't have very many, a whopping 3 because I'm indoors. You'll have your Wi-Fi reception, battery health. So right now I'm at 34% because I haven't charged it since I took it out yesterday. And this one up here will be flight time. So that's also important to realize how much we've flown. Now the 3 little dots at the top, if we tap them, we will go into safety control. So again, these are good to realize based on where you live. What's your altitude, that your distance away, your auto return to home. This is important depending on what kind of landscape you're flying in. Maybe you're flying in an area that 30 meters isn't high enough for the drone to elevate before it starts its venture home, because that's how high it is. So maybe you want to pop it up higher. Update home point, and a bunch of calibration, find my drone, etc. Controls can be good. So this would be your different controls, your units of measurement, gimbal, all kinds of stuff. It's funny, gimbal follow mode, but there is no follow mode as far as I know on this one. And different kinds of stick calibration and settings if you so choose. Camera size, this is for like photo. SD card, if you have it, if you want to format it, etc. But you guys can go through a lot of this. What kind of frequency you're using. I have it set to auto, so it'll pick the best one. And last but not least is the about. Now the about can be really important because this, for one, is where we have the ability to check for firmware updates and of course your FlySafe database updates. Point 3 as of filming is the latest one, and I just got this drone a couple days ago and it had firmware version 1. So be aware, if you're buying a drone or anything really, you should always check for firmware updates because the chances are it's you have them, right? And then we just tap out to get out of this. Now the other thing to realize is that I don't have an SD card in here, and if you did have an SD card in here, you would be able to change things like resolution and that of the camera, which you can't do right now. My apologies that I can't show that to you because my card's somewhere else, which I don't know where I put it. I should go find that. So that's a brief overview of the app, which again, I think is really good. So we're gonna put this down. I think we're good with this right now. All right, so now kind of my little thoughts / review after flying this twice. So on day 1, I went out and just went out of town a little bit. It was cold, so it was about -1, -2 degrees Celsius. Flew no issues. One of the things, because it doesn't have high like landing gear, is that it really needs to sit on something that's really flat. So be aware of that. I sat it in some grass and the grass was high enough that it was hitting the blades and being able to kind of interfere with the camera calibration. So I ended up launching it from the hood of my car because it was like, nope, not flying. Grass is too big. So I never had that kind of issue with my Mavic Air or of course my Phantoms, because that's up higher. So just kind of be aware that it wouldn't be a bad idea to get one of those, drone landing pads, takeoff pads, whatever you want to call them, just if you're in a spot like that. But flew it around there. I'm going to put some footage up here so you guys can see it. So this was all taken in 1080p. So I didn't change it. I wanted to see what 1080p looked like. So here you go. Some 1080p footage for you guys to enjoy from day 1 of flying.
I can
I'm actually really impressed. Now, I flew most of this in either P mode or C mode, so the standard mode or the cinematic mode. Again, none of this footage is color corrected or anything like that. This is straight out of the Mavic's camera. So really impressed. The 1080p actually looks pretty good. You know, it's decent. A little bit of a faster frame rate, so I think it can shoot in 60. Useful? Yeah, no, it's good. Super surprised how good the 1080 actually looks. Day 2 was really more of a test. So temperature dropped even more. We were at about -5, -7 degrees with snow in the air. And again, we were getting high wind warnings. This thing flew no problems in that little bit of snow with that high wind warning, with it being cold. I'm always concerned when you get a little cold with some gimbals that they're gonna kind of not work as good because of the fact that they're freezing. I don't work as good when I'm freezing. Why should they? So here's some 2.7K footage that I took. We'll come back after that. Enjoy.
Grandpapa had a metal plate from his time served in the war. He used to pick up radio waves that he said were from the future. As little children we would gather round. To us he was a giant. But when it came to taking medicine, the man was non-compliant. He'd tell me, wait, what would you say if I could build a little vessel that could take us to another time and place? What would you say if the burning of the engines could be powered by the smile on your face? What will you say? Will you follow me, follow me, follow me, follow me round the way? He'd laugh and say, but I'm too tired for that one today. He'd take us fishing at the local dam. We would bike down from his house, telling stories of a captain he knew from his travels to the past. The cannonballs and muskets and the weapons they used were anything but modern. So Grandpa brought grenades and proximity mines. Together they ran the ocean. He'd tell us, wait, what would you say if I could build a little vessel that could take us to another time and place?
That again looks fantastic. So some of the things that you just need to be aware of, positive wise, portability of this thing is fantastic. I literally had it in a sling with my Canon SLR with a 16-35 lens on it, with the drone, with the extra set of batteries, with the controller, and still had space. Not a lot of space, but still had space. Like, that's nuts. High wind warnings, it was good. Now, I don't know if they bring high wind warnings lower because the drone is lower, but the clouds were moving pretty fast up there, so there was definitely some wind, without question. So cold, wind, not an issue. Very good. We got it out about 1 kilometer away, I would say, in that range. Now, the other bonus, of course, is actually, because it's not a fast drone by any means, but sport mode, if you kick it into sport mode and you need to get it back really fast, actually quite peppy. Definitely not like Mavic Air, Mavic Pro speeds, but peppy enough. You'll be fine. Here's the only little bit of concern for me, and it's because there are no obstacle avoidance sensors. So this is really targeted toward a lot of people that are traveling or maybe new to drones, because it gets you under that licensing that you need, 249 grams, which again, smart of DJI, super smart, but no obstacle avoidance. And that's something to be aware of. Day one, and I'm not really even processing the fact that I don't have these because I'm so used to flying a drone with it. And I'm flying a shot backwards, and I'm watching the screen as I'm flying, and I'm seeing the drone do a nice pull. And I kind of just look up at the drone and I realize I'm not high enough to clear the top of this tree. So I hammer on the brakes, and of course I'm in cinematic mode, so the hammer on the brakes doesn't hammer. So she just kind of, ooh, and she stops, and I'm like, oh. And at that point in time in the shot, you can literally see the tree branch. Here's the shot right here. You guys can take a look at it. So I literally just missed that tree. Would it tree have killed the drone? Probably not, but it may have caught the drone up in the branches, and then first flight, lost drone. Now what do I do? You know, just kind of be aware of that. Other than that, this may be one of my favorite little drones. A fantastic release by DJI. I got nothing but thumbs up. Very interested now to see what's next on the agenda for them. Are we going to see a Mavic Micro? I don't know. Would be cool. All right, guys, this video got really long. Hopefully it was useful for you. You get to see some footage of the Mavic Mini, and it's a win. All right, guys, I'm gonna put some links down below if you guys are interested in picking one up for yourself, and I'm gonna leave you there. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, my friends, and we will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one. Later.